Hello, here's another rendition of the Phantom 2 Vision camera mod. I found some more information on how people gained access to the ports on here. In my original video, I did it by moving the post to the side to gain access to plug in the mini U.F.L connectors. Although I have my easy mod video, which is of course by far the easiest way to do this mod. But the parts cost a wee bit more money. And in this method I will try another way of gaining access to it, but this time without having to bend those ports to the side. What you will need is the following tools. You will need a 00 or similar Phillips screwdriver, needle nose pliers or tweezers, small flathead screwdriver, 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench or hex wrench, an SMA to U.F.L pigtail. This is a female, and this is an RP SMA female. So this is an RP SMA female to U.F.L female. So using this plug you can connect to most standard Wi-Fi antennas. And you can always use an RP SMA to SMA adapter should you use antennas that have an SMA port. Or if you know off the bat that you're going to use an antenna that has an SMA port, then you will want to get an SMA connector to U.F.L female. Just know in advance what you want. I've used both these, and these work well, provided you put them in the right orientation, although the circular polarized antennas will work far more reliably. It won't go quite as far in terms of straight off range, but you'll get much more reliable use using a circular polarized antenna. If you're modifying the antennas on your Vision, it doesn't matter if you go with an LHCP or RHCP, but if you intend to only modify one antenna on your Vision, then you might want to go with an LHCP antenna. These particular ones are RHCP, which is right hand or left hand versus left hand circular polarization. So this position works pretty well, although it would work even better if you could get them further away from the body of the Phantom, so that way it's not obstructed by the landing gear, which can affect the signal from it a bit. You'll get the absolute best performance out of one of these if it is directly below the body of the Phantom. The only downside of that is you won't be able to land. You'll have to hand catch and hand take off, or set up some sort of auto retracting system so that way when you land it'll come in. If you're going to go the two Omni routes, which work well, which works fairly well for me, but again these work better, I suggest using this configuration. With them at two different angles. Although you are going to need to put a cable tie or something to keep it from dropping down as you're flying. But you'll want it in these two orientations to get the most reliable signal out of it. Because position is absolutely critical, especially critical using Omnis like this. as it will dramatically affect either positively or negatively how well it works. But trying a lot of different setups, this has worked the best so far for me. Anyway, now let me get on to how this will go. Oh, also you'll need a piece of tape. Let me pop the battery out so it's a little bit lighter. You're going to want a piece of tape to make reinstallation of this bottom piece easier. Because you have a button there which is for manually starting and stopping the camera. By the way, if you're going to be doing if you wanted to do the same installation I'm doing here, you're going to need a couple of washers. I got this from Home Depot. It's a brass washer, and use one of the washers that came with it for the inside of the rubber grommet. Let me see if I can. And this is the actual part. It's a number 14S SAE brass. And the number here shows 356949, and this says 811641. That's the one I'm using on here. Oh, and I almost forgot. This is a couple of right angle adapters. This is a RP SMA right angle 90 degree. So this is an RP SMA female to RP SMA male. Right hand adapter. Let me unscrew that and just show you how that looks when it's not plugged in, screwed in. So there's no pin on the inside here, pin on the inside here. Normally you would think something that has a pin on the inside is a male, but because this is RP, reverse polarity, the pin is a female, and the non-pin is the male. And I have a little washer on the inside, the one that came with it. Rather than using it to tighten the nut down, I put it on the inside. So, and you reconnect the grommet before you slide the nut up, otherwise it's going to be harder to get the grommet back on. So you pull the rubber out, you put this piece in here, and then you put the rubber in, and then you slide the nut the rest of the way through, and then screw it off. And you'll have to hold this down tight, tighten that in. Now let me get on to and here you're going to use your 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench to take these screws off. So no need to watch me take them off. I will come back when the screw's undone. Okay, with the screws undone, you take this off by pulling from the back first. And once you get a little bit of a seam there, you lift it from the front. And now that's it, you're off. Although as you see, I routed my cables up through the vent hole here, so I'm going to need to take my cables out. So I'll be right back. Hello. As good as range as I was getting with my setup, it wasn't working as well as I thought it should, and now I just discovered why. And that's because the pin in here is barely exposed. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But if the pin is barely making contact, that definitely explains why it was not working so great. Because as you see here, it should be something more like that. And here is all that was exposed. So I don't remember, I'm not really sure if it came that way or if it happened during my connections, my multiple screw-ons. Sorry for the... But yeah, if one of these are not making good contact, it strongly affects the overall performance of the setup. So when you get your connectors, make sure you got a good pin in there. Be careful when you put them on. Let me show you what the reverse process was of removing these. So first undoing my nut. And the pin on this one also wasn't all that great, to be honest, on this particular one. It's better than the other one, but could be better. I have a couple of other connectors that are better than that. Anyway, I'm going to be getting a couple of new adapters. So when I redo my mod, I'm going to be expecting much better performance out of this thing. Sorry for all the moving around, but okay. And if you want to have cables that reach here, well, I'll give you links in my description. These I think are a 6 or 7 inch cable. If you want a little extra slack for putting this in more positions, you might want to get one that's about an 8 or 9 inch cable, or even longer. And this is a relatively thinner cable. If you want to get something with slightly better shielding, one with the 178 RG178 cable. It's a little thicker cable. Here's that washer. I'm going to pull this out here by folding it in, pushing it down. And when you insert it, it's a reverse process. You mush up one side, push it up, and then squeeze the rest in. And I have that little brass washer in there for the other side. And let me just show you reinstalling. It's as simple as that, and then you would put the nut up after you're done with that. popping the back off here. Here's your camera. Both of these are connected all the way down on the PC board. If you're doing the easy mod, anyway, you have to pull this off and get in here. But if you're doing the easy mod, you don't have to take anything apart other than just this. And undoing the cable from here, and then using a male to female 6-inch extension, and plugging that into a male U.F.L. to RP SMA, to an SMA plug, and then an SMA to RP SMA female adapter. So you can watch my easy mod if you'd rather do that rather than having to take the camera out and doing other sleight of hand. But anyway, this is where the Phillips now comes in handy. You got to undo these two screws here. And to get the screws back on, you will need tweezers or pliers to get these screws back on. But there are your two Phillips screws. You have to put a fair amount of pressure to get them out. The very first time I took these screws out, it was very difficult to remove. You got to put a lot of downward force. So when you're doing it, you want to hold the camera in place with your hand, so that way you're not putting any pressure on the servo, because you don't want to start damaging the servo now. So you're going to put some good downward pressure on the screwdriver as you hold it securely with your hand, and then, counterclockwise to loosen the screw. And then you lift this out. And anyway, let me come back when I'm done with the screws. Okay, I now have the two screws out. Also, you'll see that there are two plastic posts on the side of these metal pieces here that help guide this back into position. It's over there. So that way, plastic on the side there and metal, you just lift this straight out. You could also remove this connector from here if you wanted to, or just let it dangle. Keep in mind is that the lens can shake around. On here it's just held in by a little bushing. This can move around here. It does not affect the focus or anything, it's just that this bit is held in by friction onto there. So it may get out of position a little bit as you're working on here. Don't worry about it, you can get it back in position as you're working it in there. If you want to remove the ribbon so it's not dangling around here, you would have to very carefully push a little pin forward on either side, so that way, so it can slip out, and then when you're done, put it back in again. I prefer leaving this in place. Here are the two connectors. I did this originally by moving the plastic posts to the side, bending it to the side, which I am not entirely happy having to do that way, but that was the only way I figured out how to do it at the time. But other people are saying now about the bending technique, which I didn't understand before. Now I think I have a better idea. Is they were saying that you push the board in and it will give it some space that you need. So let me fiddle around with it, figure out how to do that, and then come back. Of course, if you watch the version 1, I just simply moved the white post to the side, popped it out, put the other cable in, and bent it back. But I want to try this other method to see if I can do it without doing that. I know other people have had success either bending this in or pulling it this way. doing it various different ways. So let me try with the thumb and the screwdriver to see if I can get it off. Well, what do you know? Got it off. Let me do the other side. Pop it off. Take these off. As you see, I routed them through the vents here, so I didn't need to drill anything. And to get the other ones in position, because I'm reinstalling my old cables for now, I'm going to be but when you get your own cables, you're going to want to kind of bend it in position, line it up, and push down to get it into place. And in this case, I'll be doing it with a stock antenna wire. So I have my thumb underneath it, pulling at an angle a bit. I think it's more or less in a position over the top. Or not quite. So please have patience. This is the first time I'm doing it like this. Actually, I'm going to want to so you're probably going to want to keep this gap open while you adjust the position. Alright, when I get it lined up, I'll do it. Alright, as you see, I have it snapped in. It's kind of hard to do it while trying to use the camera at the same time, but you just line it straight over the socket, and once it was over the socket, you push down and you hear a firm snap, because these connectors snap into place, FYI. So I had it over top, I pushed down, I heard a snap, and it's in. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then it'll be done. Okay, now I have the both antennas on here. I just lined this up while having my hand in here, giving it a gap. I lined this up over the top of it and then pushed it down, having that snap. I reattached this cover on here, this arrow, keep in mind, there's only one side that has an arrow. That means it's pointing straight up into this part. You're going to want to, and there are a couple little posts that line up with these small holes. When you put it in, you can take a little bit of fettling. You zoom out here. And this is just held in by friction again, so this completely comes out in and out. So I have this I angle this back a little bit when I get it in, so that way those posts can go in and line up. I think that's just about it. So you want to make sure there's no seam at all when it's reinstalled. And you can see two little metal posts. Right there on the other side. So now, with them both in, you know that you have it lined up. It's firmly in. You put your two screws in using some needle nose pliers to line up your screws in here. To screw them back on. Then you put your cover on. Of course, I'll be right back when I have that screwed in. Well, I have my two screws in place, and I'm going to be tightening them down. Again, please be very careful not to over tighten, because you don't want to strip the screws or the plastic. And of course, you're going to hold on to the base of the camera as you're screwing in, so that way you're not putting any pressure on the servo. Alright, now with that done, take your top. Remember, you have the tape on here holding that button in place to make it easy. If the button came loose or you forget to put the tape on, just install it by putting your button down and doing it like this. But since I use my tape, I can just put it this way. I'm going to put it from front to back. Okay, that's that. Take the tape off. Button is working. And now you just put your 4 hex screws, Allen screws. Again, do not over tighten. And do not tighten one spot before the others. Kind of work them all down, then tighten like here, 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 here. And be back when it's all tightened up. Here's my Phantom 2 Vision, all back together again. And here's my Nexus 7. As you see, I'm on my stock repeater camera. Let me go. So the camera is none the worse for wear after its dissection, and it's all good. So this shows basically how you can do the camera mod as well as how you can undo it. Simple enough to reverse the procedure. None the worse for wear. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and again, if you don't want to go through the ordeal of taking the whole thing apart, just want to take off the bottom cover, just look at the easy version mod to upgrade your antennas. And when you get your pigtails, make sure that it has a good amount of, I got an amount of pins showing on here. You know, versus that. And where's my other one? Oh, here we go. Versus that. So my antenna wasn't making a good connection. So I'm going to get me a couple of new pigtails, and I may get one with a thicker cable, the RG178. Anyway, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.